Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's just going to be a fairly brief one, just an update video. Since it's been a little while, I figured instead of starting a fresh new topic, I'd just go over a few little things that have happened, some things I'm up to, how the enclosures that we've set up in the videos recently are going, and have a look at some feeding videos that I managed to take. So we'll get straight into it, won't delay, and enjoy the video.
Now the first update I thought we'd look at is just a handful of the wishbone spider enclosures that we rehoused, or that I rehoused in the last video, and as you can see they're all looking a little bit different from each other. This, surprisingly, though it might not look as pretty or webbed up as this one, is actually what I like to see. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of a mound of dirt just here, and the centre burrow is obviously there, but just buried over with some clay and sand at the moment. This was from my quonkan species. That's actually one of the first, one of this particular species, I should say, is one of the first in Quonkan to become available outside of WA. So they're a type of wishbone spider that's found across South Australia and Western Australia. Yeah, very, very cool little ones. She didn't really do too much with the enclosure. She buried straight away, which is a good sign that they settled in nice and fast. This one, on the other hand, which is Anime Species Black, didn't really settle in quite as good as planned, which is always the case one or two times when you're housing wishbones. It's pretty tricky to get every single one you house happy first go. So I'll probably remake this one set up soon with a little bit of a different mixture to make her feel more comfortable. And well, she's not actually outside right now. If I look down there, you can maybe just spy out her face down there. The reason I know she's uncomfortable is to do with all this webbing. Now you see wishbone spiders like this one here, and well, really all four of these, are obligate burrowers by nature, which means that they like to stay underground. So the fact that this one has webbed up nearly all the surface around here is a good indication that she's been out on the surface pacing around, trying to look for a more suitable area to burrow. So using that, I can tell that she's probably not the happiest she could be in here, but no worries, we'll put her in another rehousing video pretty soon. The other two enclosures here belong to two different Proshomaka species. So this one comes from the Flinders Ranges, and this one comes from Mount Lofty. Now, I'm not as concerned by the webbing outside the burrow as what I am with this one. If I compare it like that, Proshomaka are a lot heavier webbing species, so while this is kind of frail, sort of transparent silk, they like to use very thick, heavy white silk to line their burrows. So this is pretty normal for Proshomaka in captivity. So these ones have adjusted very well. I see them every night normally, just waiting at the entry. This one, though, gets a little adventurous where she feels that it's feeding time. She will try and escape, or I shouldn't say escape, even though she actually has here, but she likes to come and wander around to try and chase the crickets down if I drop a cricket in, whereas this one over here prefers just to wait until they come in pretty close striking range. So while I've got this one out, I thought we might as well have a bit of a look at her, because she's a pretty spectacular spider, and since they normally burrow, you don't see them very often like this normally. So this is Proshomaka species Flinders Ranges. So she's one of the biggest wishbones I've got with me at the moment. If I do that, I'm not really too concerned about her being aggressive. It's almost too glary because of the flashlight, but you can see she's a pretty big size compared to my hand. I believe she's about 83 millimeters in diagonal leg span, maybe give or take 3 millimeters. It's a bit tricky to measure them when they're always running around. But yeah, she's a very cool one. She's got the nice spotty patterns on the abdomen, which I think are very attractive, and she's covered in gold, which I don't think anyone would complain about on a spider as large as this. Let's move on to the next update then. So the first little update I thought we'd have a look at is the Euoplis terrifica setup that we featured in a rehousing video a few months back now. It's been a little while since then. Unfortunately, I have not been very consistent with updates. As we can see, and I'll try and find an old bit of footage of that particular rehousing video when it first was set up, it has come a long way from then. You can see the vegetation has really filled out the setup, and that bland brown clay terrarium scape has given way to a much greener lush looking ones. So all different mosses have popped up all across the thing. We've got liverwort looking really nice and vibrant. There's little ferns that are sort of peeking through. All different kinds of mosses, and of course the trapdoor itself, which is waiting just down there. You can see a little foot or a few feet waiting out under the door. So I will pop a cricket in because these guys are normally always pretty hungry any given time. So if I put the cricket in over here, oh, looks like might have tried to have got it, they got a bit spooked. Oh, there we go. Missed it, but we got to see the trapdoors. That was Yotless Terrificus. So we'll move on to the next one. We'll have a look at the velvet worm enclosure next. Now this has got to be by far one of my favourite setups that I think I've ever made in nearly my entire life. It's come a really long way. I didn't even quite envision it becoming this lush, and this is one of the benefits of using natural clay, particularly from rainforest areas, because I did not plant almost any of the vegetation you're seeing here. So when it first started, I had a single little bit of this baby tears stuff, which I'll definitely need to trim back soon. I had a little bit of it there, along with that little bit of moss you see just around under my finger. I had some of these fern moss stalks. I had one there, and then I think a couple here. So as you can see, that's really started branching across, and if I look carefully, there is an adorable baby velvet worm. So yes, our velvet worms have been so successful. They've actually been breeding in here, and that is a tiny little baby. So you don't really see these guys too much, normally late at night. Actually, look, there's another one there. Here's one of the adults. If I pull back this bark, there we go. There's actually, I think, two of them. There's two of them down there. That's the backs of them, so you don't normally see them too much. Every now and then I'll check and I'll see a couple of them out. Usually either here or maybe here underneath that little bit of wood. Sometimes they'll be around there. And yeah, they'll sometimes pack hunt. If I put a large cricket in, you'll see a couple of them come out at once to try and chase it, even though they're not too fast, but they'll use teamwork to glue the cricket down. I'm not really even too sure what all the plants are named in this setup, but there's lots of little tiny details that have really brought this setup to life. So I'll be making plenty more of these in the future, and I'll make sure to include updates along the way, unlike these guys, where it's suddenly gone from a pretty barren, dirty looking setup a few months ago to suddenly looking like this in only 2 videos later. Now the last enclosure update I'll do for this video is next, and I'm pretty excited for this one. Now this is one of the biggest trapdoor enclosures I've actually made. I do have one bigger one, and I've already recorded the build video for that, but we'll do another video. But this is one of the largest trapdoor setups I've made. And this houses one at the moment, but soon to be 2 very, very special Cataxia trapdoors. So I've got it in the dark here, but if I turn my flashlight on a little bit better, you can actually see we've got a valley set up here. So we've got raised edges on both sides with assorted different mosses and some ferns. This is actually just taken out of, this is just some random fern that came up in another setup of mine that I had to destroy. So I figured instead of throwing it out, I'd reuse it for here. Same with this one over here. So this is for Cataxia babindaensis. This is a fairly new acquisition of mine, so I've already got one of them in there. You can just see her feet, and I do have the rehousing video of that specimen recorded already, so I'll put that at the end of the video. I do have a second very large female as well that I'm hoping to put in here. Before I do that, I figure I will leave this one to settle in for a few weeks, and that way I can tell that if they'll like this clay or not, because if they don't, there's a chance that they may wander out and encounter each other, which would result in unnecessary casualties. So this setup is a experimental communal setup. So we'll see how this one goes, and if it goes well, then we'll do the rehousing video of this one. I will probably feed this one in the next couple of days, so I'll make sure to put that at the end of the next video I make. So we can see that. I do definitely need to make a lot more feeding videos just to make them a little bit more interesting. And on the note of feeding videos, I've got 4 spiders lined up to finish off this video. So we'll get straight onto that, and I'll include the species names in the captions for each image.
Well, that is all for today's video. I hope everyone enjoyed watching. So just before I go, I thought I'd announce a few little projects I've got upcoming. So we've got obviously a lot of large Bavarian builds to do that I'll do build videos for, such as ones for Palisade Trapdoors and other communals. And the other thing I really want to work on is videos going a little bit more in depth into each of Australia's various trapdoor genre, because if I mention names like OBT, Pokey or Green Bottle Blue, most of our overseas viewers are familiar with those terms, but not Australian ones. So I hope to make some videos to help clarify and ease up some of the confusion about the terms and names I use. So look forward to those in the coming weeks. Thank you again for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. See you next time.